I have been through hell and back again. And, these little witch hunts that they do more than just damage your reputation. They prevented me from getting health care. I was followed around by police, like ceaselessly, going to the grocery store, bullied by their friends, by my neighbors, by this campaign that they went, and they got my doctor and all the doctors at St. Mary's. I had to get a whole new team of doctors to try to figure out how I could get better from this. Oh, and then there's the financial aspect. I couldn't work for over 2.5 years. My brain was melted by what they did to me. And then when I did get back to work, I received zero help from doctors, from medication, from anything. No, what I did is get bullied by people at work because I stood up for myself. And this is how it is around here. I'm too loud and aggressive because I don't let people kick me when I'm down. And that's about the only way that they can kick me is when I'm down. Because otherwise, I'm ready. I expected everything that they did. And I clawed tooth and nail to get out of that situation so I could get to a real doctor because I knew I was having a stroke. And for 3 days, while they laughed at me, they refused to give me my inhaler. And I was having an allergic reaction from the Haldol that they gave me, and I couldn't breathe. My heart rate kept on bottoming out because I couldn't breathe. And they said to my face, I'm using it too much. I was being dramatic. So you know what? Like I said about empathy, there's a lot in those papers, but the one thing that there isn't there in those papers? Empathy. And that should have been the first thing. This should have been the first thing that dispatch saw. But no, she started with her toxic paperwork. It said, black man high on PCP. And no, Brittany, you can't change my race to say that they didn't say I'm a black man high on PCP. Fuck yourself. Whatever. What is wrong with you people? Clearly, you're out of touch. Oh, I also wanted to say, Jason Nair, I worked with his wife for 17 years, and I taught both of his daughters for God, since they were little, like from almost kindergarten to graduation. And he did that to me. He tried to break my feet. In the middle of the night, I was wearing my pajamas. I was wearing a nightgown, nothing else. Honestly, when I was in the hospital, the only reason I was able to save my life is because I stripped down naked. And I knew they wouldn't touch me because they're so racist. They treated me like filth. And you know what? Maybe this hospital hate crime will go without justice. But the moment that they changed that document to say that I was white, they created wire fraud. So in summation, that flash drive is Schrodinger's cat of information. No doubt. It either contains a whole bunch of nasty little euphemisms for how I'm aggressive and out of control in the problem. Or maybe they say she was so kind and helpful, like the way I taught Girl Scouts or Odyssey of the Mind, or taught in local school districts, all of them for 17 years. I was there, as he says, as the DA and St. Mary's say that Jeffrey T. Smith was their go-to guy. I was their go-to substitute teacher around here. And I also want to point out that this all happened. Let me tell you the timeline that this happened. The pandemic started, and then I lost my job as a weaver. And then unemployment wouldn't pay out, so I was basically destitute. I had to move out of my apartment. And then I got COVID. And then my father died. And then the same day, Paul had a heart attack. And then 3 months later, I had a stroke. Oh, a month prior to them saying I was a black man high on PCP, George Floyd was murdered. And they said he was a black man high on PCP. And I want you to think about this and the lack of empathy that was clearly in all the paperwork that was sent to me. Their back talk about me, their little games they played. They brought in almost everybody that they possibly could. There's so many officers involved in this, many of them retired before they, had to face this, public call out. The lack of empathy. There is not one shred of empathy in any of those documents, whether the medical, the dispatch, the officers. Not one shred of empathy. Not even after they found out that I really did have an unruptured aneurysm. Not even when they saw me struggling to hold myself up and speak, stuttering uncontrollably. Not one shred. And then they went and acted as if I was... Do you see my eyes tracking? I'm sober right now. That's from the brain injury that they inflicted that day with those drugs because I was allergic to them. They gave me such a massive dose of Haldol that when I didn't die, my body suffered. My nervous system suffered so hard that I almost didn't recover. And their answer was not a kind word. Not a, I'm sorry, can you teach me? Not a, oh, I didn't know who you are. Not a, can we start over? No, it was doubling down and getting everybody that you know against one girl in town during pandemic. So people were dying left and right. And these folks took it upon themselves in a quarantine hospital behind closed doors with the lights off and their body cameras off and the cameras off to violate my body in error. They slammed me down. As soon as I said no, they attacked me. And you know what? You can believe what you want to believe. They can say what they want to say. I will never trust them again. Not the police, not the EMTs, not 911, not my neighbors, not my community. The worst thing is I saw it coming and there was no way to get away because I needed medical attention. They knew it. They used their position to basically enact a hate crime and cover it all up. And the issue about qualified immunity is, honestly, this is that problem. I mean, what if they had full immunity? They could have murdered me with impunity. You know what? So by the grace of God, I go, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful for my life. I'm grateful I can walk. I'm grateful I can talk. I had to learn how to sing. I couldn't listen to music. It hurt. I couldn't play piano anymore. I lost everything because of this. And this is why it doesn't just go away. When people want somebody to just go away, that's because what they're saying is true. God bless. I hope you get justice. Heaven sign your name in the northern lights. Heaven sign your name in the northern lights. Heaven sign your name in the northern lights.